I'm Tracy Lamourie here today for TV Cogeco, and today we're speaking with Ron Franko, who's the NDP candidate for the May 2nd federal Canadian election. Thanks for speaking with us today, Ron.
Oh, it's my pleasure to have you here.
Now, I guess we'll start by asking you a little bit about your background and who you are as a person, and then follow that up with why you chose to enter the political arena.
Okay, that came early in my life. My parents were from Saskatchewan and came to Ontario during the Depression, and so my roots in the New Democratic Party are deep. I've always been involved in politics, always interested in what's going on in my country and in my community. And so I couldn't help back in 1974, during the 1974 federal election, to jump in. And after that, I whetted my appetite, and it was just, from then on, it was just trying to help people, trying to make Canada and Ontario a better place to live. And I just kept going and going and running in election campaigns. And we made gains every time. I ran in the 1977 provincial election against Darcy McHugh, the Treasurer of Ontario, and came within 3,000 votes of winning that election. In the by-election in 1978, I came within 1,800 votes of winning. And, so people have accepted me in this community and trust me, and that's why I'm continuing to run. In this federal campaign, I've decided to run because I'm concerned about what's going on in our country. Too many jobs are coming in from offshore. We've lost them to China, to India, to other countries because of free trade. There's no limits on what they can send back in, but all of our jobs have gone over there. You go to any Walmart store, walk through there and try to find anything that's made in Canada. It's not possible. There are very, very few products. So just from that point of view, I was very concerned about our job losses here. We've lost all kinds of jobs, and I'm trying to change that and repatriate those jobs back to Canada. I think that's important.
What are some of the issues that really brought you, I guess, for this particular campaign? What are some of the issues that you're really passionate about? And do those differ from what you've been hearing as you're knocking on the doors, talking to citizens in the riding?
Well, over the years, I've seen people losing their homes, can't afford accommodation. There are basic things that people want. They want a roof over their head. They want good quality food to eat. They need a job. I think that's important. And they want to look after their families. There are basic tenets in a society that it doesn't matter where in the world you go. I've traveled to quite a number of countries in the world, and no matter where you go, people are people. They only want the simple things in life, the basics of life. And if you want to work and get the other things, that's great, but we should be able to provide the basics for people so that people can live in harmony and happiness and enjoy their life. We're only here on this earth for a short time, and the older you get, the more you realize that. So it's a matter of quality of life for a lot of people and trying to bring that to all the ordinary people. It's one thing to have wonderful, Stephen Harper talks about a wonderful economy we've got and how great it is, and I know Dave Van Kestern's going to spout the same thing during this campaign, but but the whole idea is, if you can't just look at banks and large corporations as being the be-all and the end-all for Canadians. There is a quality of life that we do have to look at. We have to make sure that the rest of us Canadians are looked after also. And the economy is not great for us at the other levels. The middle class in this country is shrinking. The more and more they're giving tax breaks to the larger corporations and the banks, and yet we in the middle class are still expected now to pay more and more and more of the burden and the cost of running this company that we call Canada. If we were a corporation, which Canada could be considered, the Prime Minister is the CEO, the Cabinet is the Board of Directors, the banks and big multinational corporations are obviously the preferred shareholders in this country and this company that we call Canada, and the rest of us are common shareholders. And we as common shareholders are not getting a big enough return on our investment for what we're putting into the country and into this company. So I think what we have to do on May the 2nd, we're going to have a shareholders meeting, and I think it's time to dump the CEO and the board of directors from this company that we call Canada so that we as common shareholders will get a better return on the investment that we make. And if we have to put it in those terms, so Stephen Harper and Michael Ignatieff can understand what it's like to work for a living, then that's what we have to do. Let's put it in terms that they understand. One of the things that we need to do, I've sat here for a number of years and watched our municipal council, and with all due respect to them, because they didn't have any choice, banging their head against the wall, trying to get jobs through economic development and expenditure of tax monies locally here, and trying to bring jobs to our community. Well, that's not going to happen because we don't have an economic climate set up in this country that's going to allow those, or make those companies set up here. What we need is a made in Canada policy that's going to have Canadian content and have these companies set up an environment, whether through taxes or whatever it is, and putting some restrictions on products coming into this country. Hyundai, for example, had a plant in Bromont, Quebec. And what they did when free trade came in, they closed their plant in Bromont, Quebec, and moved it to the States. Right now, they're bringing those cars in directly from Korea into Canada. Honda builds cars here, Toyota builds cars here. Why not Hyundai? We could use those jobs, and yet South Korea will not allow Canadian beef into their country. They will not. There's no reciprocation there in a trade policy. So I think this is where we as a federal government should be stepping in and making sure these trade policies are fair to Canadians. I know Stephen Harper said after the G20, and I was there, I walked in that march in the G20 parade in Toronto.
You're a brave man.
Well, it was good.
I saw the news reports.
I was lucky. I missed all the violence. I went the other way back to Queen's Park and we went home. But at Queen's Park, it looked like there was going to be a party there. And by the time I got on the bus in Toronto and drove home, there was violence all over the place. And there was 10,000 police officers there. And there was absolutely no way that violence should have happened.
Absolutely.
They could have cordoned it off really quickly.
Yeah, all that investment.
Yeah, but the point I wanted to make, that after the G20, Stephen Harper got out and came out of the meeting and stood at a microphone, and he said that if Canada is going to participate in the global economy, that Canada is going to have to relinquish some of its sovereignty. And I said, absolutely no way, not over my dead body. I love my country, and nobody is going to take sovereignty away from us. We need to protect our country. And Stephen Harper, he stood when he was head of the National Citizens Coalition in Alberta. One of the statements he made that what they should do is put a wall around Alberta and separate it from the rest of Canada. To me, he's no better than Gilles Duceppe in his thinking, but yet he lies through his teeth when he tells you that he's going to look after Canadian sovereignty in the north, and that worries me because I know he won't. He will sell out to big corporate interests and the environment and everything else in the north in order for companies to come in here, especially foreign companies, and make a buck. And I want to ensure that if in fact there is going to be development in the north, that Canadians are going to get the royalties they deserve, and not only for all of Canada, but for the Inuit peoples and everyone else.
And I guess lastly is how can local people get involved? I'm assuming there's a lot of things that you can have people doing. And if they want to come out and help the New Democratic Party win on May 2nd, what can they do?
Well, there's a lot of jobs to do, delivering leaflets, putting up signs, just talking to other people. I think in this campaign, I think you're going to see a lot of disaffected conservatives and a lot of liberals voting for me this time because they do not want the conservative government of Stephen Harper to have any kind of majority. And the only way to protect against that is to give me their support in this campaign. I know that there's a lot of people out there who have voted for me in the past, the seniors. They're hurting right now too. They've got a lot of problems trying to maintain their homes and trying to survive. And we have to do something. A lot of those seniors were liberal and conservatives over the years, and I know that I think I can count on a lot of them to give me their support in this election campaign.
Okay, and how can Chatham-Kent residents reach your campaign?
You can reach me at my office at 397-1428. They can call me personally at home at 519-352-5235. They can call me on my cell phone at 355-8181. They can come to the office at 220 St. Clair Street. There'll always be somebody here to greet them, make them feel at home, and to get involved in the campaign. And we'd love to have you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for speaking with TV Cogeco today. And for TV Cogeco, I'm Tracy Lamourie.